Three kids that you didn't have to cry out. That were
Are you good to go?
Thanks again, everybody, for coming out for session 3. So, I didn't learn a lot in the first 2. I'm hoping I get to learn something tonight. So, just kidding. Every time I see Troy, I tell him thank you for when I talk to him, because what you're doing for us is amazing, and I do appreciate all the help. So, it's been great. So, I hope everybody's excited to hear what we got today. And like I said, all the emails I'm sending out, if you guys need anything, if you have questions on your coaching stuff, feel free to reach out anytime. I work at home. So let me know. I want to help you in any way I can. So turn it over to Terry and Troy. If you got anything? So thanks again for coming, and I appreciate all you guys' help.
Perfect. How we doing? Good. Good to see all of you. Good, thank you. Thanks for asking. Just got back from Pittsburgh last night at midnight. Right away. Couple things first before we get going. These are just arbitrary things, just things that I've learned to try to save time through the years. So for a lot of you, because of the ability that you don't get to make ice in between periods, because you're on the bench the whole time. So a lot of you, when you get to certain levels, like the best way to try to help, you want to use the word cheat, is you just make stuff like this and you just fill in numbers. So on all face-off plays, this goes to, you're looking at me like, really, on the mini mites. I'm just helping with your helping with your education. But basically what it does is if you have a 6-on-4, 6-on-5, and I tell you, even in pro hockey where I was most of my life, like I use these all the time. All our face-offs were played, and then you have different players who just write in their numbers. So when you take a timeout, you just write in the numbers, you get on the bench, and you just say, okay, here's where you go. And it helps you because I'm already in mass confusion as a coach anyway, even with all my experience. So you're more than happy to look at these or just make them on your own. Just simplifies the game for you at a moment of what we call truth. I don't have a lot of time in the moment of truth. I got to make something happen really quick. For those of you that want to improve as a teacher, I would suggest you write down this and you buy this online and watch it. It's one of the best teaching videos I've ever watched in my life. And this is about a guy who teaches how to manage horses. But the things that he says in here are through the roof to be a good teacher.
What is it? What is it, Troy?
It's called Buck, and it's basically this guy is a horse whisperer, and he teaches people how to handle wild horses and how to tame them, and he teaches you how you would handle a horse and how you can teach it. But the words he uses and the part that he would help you with as a teacher, he talks in here, like an example is there's like some ladies talking about it with one of his clinics. Like he goes around all of the U.S. and puts on these clinics, and these ladies are trying to raise their horses and be good teachers, and both men and women. And she's like, well, he always does this and this and this, and he's like, well, forgive me, but I was just with you not that long ago, and you smelled like a Big Mac. Like, I wouldn't wanna get taught by you neither. Like, so horses don't wanna smell that. Like, it's just like, there's really good, and that's an odd teaching point, but it's funny, it's good, and it's really a great short little video. So if you ever wanna get yourself and, get outside of the box or you enjoy horses, that would be something that I think you could benefit from. I asked last week for an email if you had time. Doesn't mean you had to, or you can call me. We had one winner, okay, so I got one winner. I got one email. I got one, so I'm gonna give him a hat on my company. That winner is Lewis. So Lewis gets a hat. All right. It's a good question, by the way, too. It had to do with goaltending, which I seem to be an expert in. At least he thought I was, based on everything I've said for 2 weeks on goaltending. But anyway, I just thought you deserve that for sending that email. Nothing against anybody else. I would have bought 30 hats if I would have had 30 winners, but we had one. So anyway, and it wasn't a contest, but I just wanted to give that to Lewis. Then the other thing I wanted to just start off with tonight is like, so I was in Pittsburgh, I'm watching U15s, U16s, U18s, obviously the USHL, because all the teams are there, they're playing in this start of the year tournament. So I got there Wednesday night, flew home last night, and I'm there and I'm in the crowd now, so I'm just like you. Like, no one knows who I am. Like, I got a jacket on that doesn't say Sioux City or anything, it's just a generic jacket. People are sitting next to me and I'm listening to parents and I'm listening to agents, I'm listening to coaches. And obviously a lot of people in the coaching world know who I am, but not, some don't. So I'm just sitting there and I kept going back to our time together for the last 2 sessions. I'm like this is what it's like. But you're oftentimes not in the stands. I'm as a coach my whole life, I'm never in the stands. I know I suck. I know I got booed, I know they wanted to fire me, and I get all that. But when you're actually a fan in the stand, and you're actually listening to this every now and then in your life, it's quite comical. So I did think of you, but I thought of you in this perspective. I thought we come together and I think we come here with the idea of, even as a player sitting here, as a high school player, like, oh, I want to improve as a coach. And that kind of it's really kind of a fine line there. Do you really want to improve as a coach, or do you really want to become a better teacher? It's a big difference. It's a major difference. It's not a little difference. It's off the charts. Everybody thinks they can coach. And I don't mean that any disrespect, even including myself. Everybody thinks they can throw on the whistle and coach. But the reality is, hopefully through our time together, not just through me, but through understanding the profession, you're realizing this is a much bigger endeavor than it really was thought to be at first. It's kind of like a wow moment in your life, like, whoa, this is a lot. Like, I gotta be really well prepared to give these children everything they want, and it's a lot more than I thought. And the reason why I bring it to you is you could actually think of, and even you high school players, I want you to understand this, you could actually think of your teachers tomorrow at school as a high school player here. You know who your best teachers are in math and history. You know who they are. They're not good teachers by accident. They write lesson plans every day. Every day. And good coaches plan practices for every practice. That's just the bottom line. And all of us, including myself with other disciplines, have, as an adult, have to understand that I'm going to have an impact, and the impact I have will be based on my preparation. I'm not prepared, my impact isn't very great. So all of us in here have showed up and just winged it. Whether it be in coaching, whether it be in life, whether it be being a parent, a husband, a wife, whatever it may be, you just wing it. And the realization is that we've come together and we're learning the power of becoming a great teacher and understanding as much as I can about something so I can move my information on to somebody else to make their dreams come true. So that's kind of the one thing that hit me sitting in the stands. It was like, well, all these people thought like it would be really easy for that player to be a good player with all the NHL scouts there this week. And it's really not. There's so much that goes into it. And then, like, to me on the way here, like I spent my hour today on the way here, and again, it's just me telling you about being a coach or a teacher. I spent 4 phone calls with 4 of my players that didn't have 2 good games at Pitt. And it was more of a conversation just to tell them that I love them and I care about them, and that you're in a position in life where in the USHL you're supposed to make bad things happen at times, and it's okay. The USHL is about development. You're here to fail, quite frankly. And through failure, you learn about how to be successful. So I'm gonna be patient with you. You don't have to be off the ledge. You shouldn't be mad. You shouldn't be nervous whether an NHL scout is gonna come back and see you. I did the job. They're gonna come back. So that's an example of, doesn't mean that anything about me, it's just an example of what you're also trying to embrace this winter with your children that you coach. It's like, it's okay, like, you're gonna make some mistakes, it's okay, we lost, it's all right. We're just gonna get better and better every day. We just come together. And when you have that part of you kind of coming out through more education, then it becomes an easier process. So I did think of you all week while I was in Pitt, because it was kind of like, ooh, some people are a little harsh. Last week, quick review, just these things we gave out so that you know that you can go through Russ to get all this. If you did write it down, they're available to you. I've got an email of the first PowerPoint presentation yet, so he'll get that to you. Then we went through stick demo, we went through one-on-one, offense at puck, defense at puck, we went through two-on-one, offense at puck, offense away from puck. We started to talk about the defensive player on the two-on-one and how to defend that. We went through that last week. That's kind of how we finished. Now today, we talked about our email winner. We're gonna do a video part next, and then we're gonna do a walkthrough with our stick, okay? And then we're gonna talk about locker room, and then we're gonna do a whole group exercise. We're basically gonna cover 90% of this day as a group. So you're all gonna get into little groups, and you're all gonna work together, and then we're all gonna learn. We're gonna learn from each other, and I'm just gonna help put arms and legs on. Okay, so we'll get through that in a little bit, but we'll get through some other things really quick. This stuff over here, I just brought at the end. You're always welcome to use it. So this stuff I just gave you, and I meant to say it as you were all here talking, but I just figured I'd let you talk. But like for me, like this book I think is 2011-12. So this is like every practice I ran that year. And what you can see if you look at it, not that you have to before you go, you can always just call me and I'll take a picture of it. But basically it says the drill, it says the time, and then it says the system. So all the things that we've been doing, it shows you how to put in where the system would go and how you think about it. And then it has the tactical, and then it has a note on there like what we're doing, the note of the focus of the drill. So my assistants knew what the focus was. So I gave you that just to look at and read. Lewis and Roger goaltending book to look at. Awesome. Figured you'd be really pumped about that. And then this one is this one here is another one. And I give it to you just as education, nothing about it, but basically everything I've ever said to a team since 1986 till I stopped coaching in 2019, everything I ever said out of my mouth went into my computer. So this is just one whole year of my speeches to my team.
Before the speech or after the speech it went into?
After. What time it was after. Like I would write my speech. I would write my pregame speech out in the morning or the night before, and then I would basically, I would use it to share with my team the next day. Then it went in my computer. So there's not 1,000 games, but there's close. But that doesn't make me a good person or a bad person, a good coach or bad coach. All I'm saying is whatever you do as a coach this year, and you start to log things, year 2, year 3, year 4, they just become easier. Because you're just cutting and pasting. And you always have to pull from back here in your brain something I want to give to these children because it's applicable. Okay, so this game was versus the Milwaukee Admirals, 10:22 of night 11, 5:30 speech. It was called A Lesson from the Geese. That's what I read to them, basically before the game. I didn't get into X's and O's. I went totally, I go rogue all the time. Something that applies about life, but I would just talk about that. And then I just said, there was some video and there was some emotion in my language, so I wrote down emotion. There was something there that had a little jam to it. So that's an example of how you just keep things and write things and you just collect it. Again, it's just for your information to look at. Doesn't mean you have to. It bothers me none or less, either way. Okay, video. before we get into some stuff, I want to just plant this seed with you. This is video of the Badger hockey team a few years back now. I was there, we taped it. This is like working on parts in half the rink. So this thing, practice plan, which I don't have up here for you, is all about breakouts. Okay, so this would be, obviously you're not going to film your practices. We were from a teaching standpoint and a video standpoint at the time. I was actually just there helping for the day, so I was up above watching. That's not me on the ice at all, but these are 4 white players here and obviously 4 red. And the volume doesn't mean anything, so I have it down, but this is basically just parts. Okay, so this is just kind of like we've been talking part, pull, part. So basically they're working on a breakout play, they're going back. This is early in the year where they can have little 4-man groups on the ice, and they're gonna go back, and they're just gonna do a quick little bump off the play, off the dasher, so they're gonna do basically a reverse. Okay, they're just working on a little reverse play, they're 2-on-1 that forechecker, and then they're gonna pass to a winger, but that winger is really a D, because these are all D, just so you understand that. So that's just a way that on this particular, this is parts of a breakout. Now the red's gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. They're gonna reverse up the wall this time, and they're gonna go up to the wall and go back there. Now we're gonna go back again. Now the coach comes in, he's gonna allow himself to get checked, so the defenseman's gonna check, the second player comes in, and then they're gonna make the breakout to the middle. Obviously this is an elevated group, meaning they're college players, so this is all fairly quick in their brain, they know that. You're saying, okay, well, I have sports. I live in Menominee. So, okay, then what you do is you just break it down to your level, whatever your level of it is. And it's just like, this is the breakouts. But what I wanted you to get out of the video was that, geez, I guess if we do have half ice, I don't really need to always do it against the opponent. We can just work through the kind of plays that we want to do if somebody comes in on us. And then, like I said to you before, you know, in these, Terry, you can just hit the space bar there for me. A second. It should run, but hold it right now. But like in these plays here, this first one was, they bump it and it goes this way. So maybe the second guy yells, I want wall. So this guy just bumped to the wall. Well, not that all of you are going to do that. Your kids aren't going to be able to do that. I get that. But your brain should be able to understand that if they send one forechecker in and our second player comes in to help, you could say, we're going to yell net or we're going to yell wall for my battle coach in here. Then we already know where the puck's going. Like the guy yelled wall, it's going up the wall every time. The other team doesn't know what we're doing, but then the puck's already there. So it's already predetermined. And so these are all just little parts of a breakout. This is the first part of it. And then over here, then the coach implements himself in, goes first and says, okay, now go in and check me. Let the second player come in. So you can see how now I'm working on breakouts this year, but I'm just involving myself a little bit. I'm not a great skater, but I can go in and touch the wall and hold the puck. They can check me, take the puck, and we can break it out just like the game. So go ahead and play.
This one right here.
No, hit this, that's what it's called. And then if I say stop, hit it again. So now we come over here, coach goes to this side, he comes in, they just run a little reverse again, stop. Okay, so now here it is in game film. So these are how the parts work. Okay, so now obviously Penn State comes in and takes the Badger guy, he's gonna just try and get a piece of him, take it out, second man comes. Okay, go ahead, space bar again. Boom, right there, then we're right to there, we go right to the wall, we're out of the zone. Here it is in the game, stop again. We've got 2 white players for the Badgers down here, we got 1, 2 blue. Okay, so mathematically you say it's a 2-on-2, but we've already worked on these parts in practice. So these guys are really familiar with what they want to do. Go ahead. Pop it right in the middle, and away they go, and they're out of the zone. Does that make sense to everybody? So it's that, you know, that's where you get into these parts. Like that's how you get into these parts all the time. And then basically you get through that. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's just a video. So, now let's grab our sticks, if you would. If you have a stick, let's just grab it. Give yourself a little space. Players probably don't have it. You probably didn't get to that memo. But coaches, if you just grab your stick if you have one, and then just give yourself a little bit of space. You can be spread out. And actually, if you don't mind, kind of stand by somebody of your size or somebody that you wouldn't mind. High school players and coaches that don't have sticks, you can just watch. Go back. I'll teach from back here. Kind of partner up with somebody. Okay, so just so you can see over here, I felt it was important. I asked Russ to email you just to bring a stick. And really what I wanted to do is just so you go through the sensation of it, the feel of it as a teacher versus not. So the very first thing is if you look at the stick you brought, okay, and we look at ourselves as a group of teachers, everybody's different. You don't have to teach what I teach. I'm just giving you helpful hints. The bigger this is, but the smaller I am, the harder this stick is going to be for me to control and do the things you want me to do in drills. So some kids will make this knob extremely huge, okay? And it makes it heavier. Well, depending on the age. So for our mini mic group, there's a conflict here. There's a conflict in I have to pick it up off the ice if I dropped it, so I need something to grab onto. But yet, I don't want to make it so cumbersome that I can't get my little baby hand around the whole stick. So now I can't get a thumb on each side of the shaft of the stick, which you ultimately need to have, a thumb on each side. But you're going to see this year that you're going to have a lot of kids that are going to have thumbs like this. Because they can't. The whole thing is too big. So back in the era of my era of playing, we had wood sticks. And I shaved this whole part down in the file. I just made it almost round. And I made it super small because I had small hands, so I would just, basically as a young kid, my dad made it super small for me so I could basically handle the puck and get a thumb on each side. So first thing in teaching with just the stick play is just the knob, and then is it applicable to the age, and is it helpful to them as teachers, okay? The second part we said last week, if you go like this, but I said you put your thumb on your elbow on top of your thumb, and then you go down here like this and set it down in front of you, that's probably more than likely your stick handling position for most kids. There are going to be kids that are going to adjust, and maybe you might have to move their bottom hand down a little bit. But as you now teach and you look at people executing just fundamental skill drills, I want you to be a little bit more conscious of the knob. Is there a thumb on each side? And then where's their hand position relative to what they're doing in stick handling versus shooting and passing? Stick handling and passing, I'm pretty much right here the whole time. Shooting, I might drop it for a slap shot. This lower hand slides, obviously. But those things are all there. Now look at your blade. Okay, and then just look at it from a holding your blade standpoint and go, okay, do I recognize which of my kids have a toe curve? Is there a middle curve, or is there heel, or does their whole stick open up? Like, how is that going for them? So as teachers, be a little bit more concerned about how you look at their stick blade and what their parents bought them. Some kids, they just take whatever they get, right? And it might have been a hand down from a neighbor. Well, they're getting out there and you're asking them to do certain things, and they really, with the blade that they have, that's not operational for their hands. Now, you probably would say, well, what if I don't even know? It's okay not to know. But if at least you're conscious of it, you could say if Terry was at a practice, or Bob, one of the coaching directors, go, could you help me? Or one of our stout players came, could you help me with this little guy? I don't know if the stick is appropriate for him. Because I think it's either too long, or this curve is too much for him. Whatever it may be, if you're finding they're having a hard time, okay? That's the second part. Then the next part, if you just put your stick down, and now you put your stick just straight like mine, and then I want you to roll your bottom, take your top hand off and roll your bottom thumb down. Now see the close of the stick face on the blade? The closing is how you have to see kids catch pucks. The more I pull it back and straight up, and I back up and it opens up like this, that's when you're going to see all the pucks go over the top of their stick all the time. So when you're doing drills and your execution is failing because all the pucks are hitting the stick here and going over the top, that's because their stick hand is not closed. So they don't know how to rotate this thumb down and cup the stick to catch that puck. If they're having a problem, like we said last week, where the puck is going underneath the heel or some part of this blade and they can't catch it, now just hold your stick with your bottom hand and just firmly push down. One hand. Now you should feel the pressure you put on the heel of your stick. No puck should pass under your kids' sticks. If they are, that means their bottom hand is extremely weak. They don't know how important the bottom hand is. Same thing for the high school guys. If you're always losing pucks in transition in that, it probably has to do with your bottom hand is not your strength hand. When you go into puck battles, if your bottom hand isn't strong, you're gonna lose a lot of puck battles. So now we have a little bit better understanding of this stick in terms of just how to utilize it for all these things. Now, come on up front here. You're of my size. Okay, so now let's just say there's a puck right here. We'll put it right here on this black thing. So you go right there and I'll go right here. Him and I want to battle for this puck. But and again, keep this in context so you're age appropriate. You're not going to teach us, but age appropriate. But if I want to win the stick battle and you're a high school player in here, if I wanted to make sure I wanted it and I know he didn't want it, then it's that hard and it's that fast. When it's that hard and it's that fast, that just sent the message right from there, right up through there, right to there, and right to that brain that he doesn't like that. But that's how you have the puck all the time in the game. So if I go into puck battle and I just try and do this with him, like you can see the pound pressure with a good player, the bottom hand, I'm not going to move that thing. I'm never going to take that puck from that player. If I try and go here and I can't lift the stick age appropriate, again in the room, depending on what age you're done, that means he's super strong and he really gets puck possession. Just that alone for you guys as a group of teachers with skills will improve your team immensely. Your kids just don't know how to use the tool to their advantage. So we're trying to answer these questions relative to pressure and strength through here, and to take a puck, like I might have to hit hard here to swipe this thing, turn around, then I put my backside, my hips, and my rear end, and I get on my inside edges here, and now I have puck. Now I'm just all about rotating, so you can see that right now he can see my top hand. Well, eventually, once I've taken the puck and I rotate again, and now my hands are in front of my body, he can't see my hands, he can't check me, he can't get to the puck. Now I'll just lift my stick and I won't touch the puck anymore. He can push me, cross-check me, do whatever. He's not getting to the puck because I just keep rotating my body till he gets to one side and I spin the other. So it's a lot of patience in your teaching, but basically now what I'd like you to do is just with your partner, okay, it'll be a little noisy in here for a minute. I just want both of you to just go like that and then pull back like you got the puck and just feel that sensation so you can teach it. So go ahead, just battle up against somebody. And like I said to you before, a couple of weeks ago, like when you get to be a really improve your teaching skills, like you could actually just get on the ice. High school players, you'll feel it in your practices. If you get on the ice and you close your eyes, you can just listen to a good team practice. You know a good team. You don't have to see it. You can just hear it. You hear it in edges. You hear it in puck battles. You hear it in the stick wax right now, how to steal a puck from somebody and then how to rotate in and get your hips in position. So there's just a lot of, this is a great tool for us. It's an expensive tool, but we also know how to use it. The last part about this is, again, you'll have to figure out, again, if you got your stick like me and you just do this right now, and then if you help kids, because they're gonna show up the first day, and they're gonna maybe have a lever that's too long, but then you project them off the ice with their toes, then it becomes personal. So that's kind of like my skate. So do I want it here? I might cut it there. But again, if you say to them, geez, I think, Troy, we should bring it down to your chin, don't tell me to go home and cut it to my chin the first week. Have me cut it halfway, because this much is a lot. That's too much. You gotta whittle it down slowly week after week with them. So then again, so now you've got that in your head, like, okay, then the next part is when you put your stick down in front of you, go ahead, go back to this. And then now you just rest it on your hip, so it's completely flat. Your heel is flat on the ground here. And now if my hand doesn't travel through my midsection, and it doesn't freely go through here, like where I got it right on my hip, If it's not gonna go through here, maybe, and I would tell you this, my stick is too long for if I was a player, but I'm coaching now, so it's a little bit longer. But as a player, I'd be more here and my hand could travel in front of my body. And that makes me a big difference in my ability to be an east-west player or move a little bit more freely through your drills. The longer my level and the more it's in my jersey and my hip, the less I'm gonna have to be able to play east and west freely. I'm pretty much a north-south player. I'm pretty much gonna go this way up the ice, but if you're asking me to do all this fancy stuff and get my hands on both sides of my body, usually those players are caught somewhere in their jersey or their hips. Does that make sense? So you can look at the lever this year and help them as they do the drills. Then the last part would be the skates. We can't ignore that. I did bring a pair of skates, but it would tell you this. When you get to coaching right away in the fall, if you can put your finger down behind their heel in the back of their skate and you can push it straight in, they're in a bad pair of skates. And you can't become better teachers without the right stick and without the right skates in youth. So many kids just get hand-me-downs. So many kids went somewhere to Hudson to play it against sports and got a pair of skates 2 weeks ago, or they're getting them next week. They throw them on, they haven't been sharpened forever, and here we are as a group of teachers and coaches, and we're like, hey, what's going on? Like, you're not doing so well. Well, number one, their skate probably doesn't fit. Number two, their stick's a mess. And then they're trying to just get this game and love it. Well, I can't love it unless my edges are right and I get my skates sharpened enough. 2, if my skates fit properly, and 3, if my stick is right. So you can forget about teaching me if all that's off to begin with, because I'm really confused, but my parents never played. They don't even understand this stuff. I'm just glad I got here. So understand a little bit about having a filter for like skates. When you look at your kids right away, go, okay, let's just take a look around, see who's got what for skates. How many of them are brand new? How many of them are really old or too old? And then look at if they're fitting them right, and then look at their stick in a lot of different ways to say, is this the right tool for them? Then the next question is, budgetarily, does everybody here, it's an important question, have enough money to have 2 sticks? And that's a problem, depending on where you are, and sometimes different in every environment. The reason why I say that is because the way the game is today, the stick goes, and then if you didn't bring an extra one based on most of the size of your kids, both the left and right as a coach, kids will not be able to finish the game when they're sharing sticks. Well, then it gets even hairier because parents don't like to share sticks with other kids. So again, just little things about the stick and the skates that I think will help you that I kind of brushed over last weekend, so I had to bring these just for this part. But we're gonna come back to these in a little bit. Any questions with that I covered? Just with the original part of the stick and the skates. So that'll help you become better teachers. Yes?
Real quick question. So
Yeah.
in that drill where you're slapping the sticks, right?
Yeah.
So when you're teaching young kids that, are you telling them to aim like above? Because otherwise they're gonna slap at the puck and the puck's gonna go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you teach that to like a squirt?
Well, basically, come on back over. So basically with a squirt, it's just like, you understand a puck battle. So I might say, hey, do you want just do a puck battle drill? And you might just say it's a puck battle drill. And you're just trying to tell John and Joe that, hey, you're just gonna tap them here and then pull it back and then try and rotate your body to here if you can at the youngest age. And then not worry about their hands. The Bantam coach, he's worried about the hands. First name again? Brian. Brian's starting to worry about hip position and protecting hands because he's got to feed the high school program. When they get there, they want that stuff kind of already taught. But we all layer up, right? So Brian's got to layer up to the next year development for high school players. But it would be just like a 50-50 puck, and you would just say, we're going to do some stick battles. The first one we're going to do is a swat and take. So I just call it swat, take the puck and rotate, show me you can just swat and take, okay? The next one we're going to work on today is just a stick lift. We're going to lift, hold the puck back, and we're going to rotate. And that's all we do, just to get them to understand what puck possession is and how do you get puck possession. Then the next day I would come back and I would say, okay, now, or 2 days later, I'd say everything's equal. Swat and take will not be as easy because your teammate has learned how important the bottom hand stick strength is. So now we go down and get a swat, and now I met somebody that's of my brain. And now I gotta be able to do some different things. So I might get here, I might just change the angle. In pros and NHL, like they're changing this, they're changing that. Like there's little leverage points that you try and trick and trade so you can get to that puck. But that's all I would do is just understand the puck position. I'm not you know, saying that everybody in here is gonna teach that right away. That might be a November thing for you, but you will start to coach. And you will now get behind the bench and you'll be like, you know, we just don't have the puck very much. And part of it will be just the mentality of what a puck battle is to them. They haven't been learned to use the tool the right way. It's not that they're not capable, they just don't know how to use this the right way. So, but I say it to you in just that, even I got to coach Brian at the highest level in here, and even our high school players. Like, you guys could have a good individual season based on how hard you are over top of the puck. So that's an individual sitting in here going, do you want the puck or you don't want the puck? It's that simple. And I'm not promoting, like, to your point, coach, I'm not promoting like this. This is not what we're doing, that's a penalty. It's just right here, it's just this quick strike, and this quick strike there, and then swat and take. And then it's a lot easier. Because most players are gonna open up this way to each other. As we mature as an organization, we'd like to be more in this position here in our puck battles. There's Eau Claire, there's Hudson, you know, there's Baldwin, there's where they are, and we're here all the time, we always have the puck. If we are in this position as an organization, we might start here, but we'll always finish here. We don't want to finish behind that guy. That's the idea, so you'll kind of get into it. All right, so we'll go back, thanks for that. Hopefully you understand just the power it takes. The next one's just the locker room. I made a mental note this weekend just because it was a bit of a, even at a higher level, so even in the USHL, it was kind of a mess. And I thought about it, I wrote myself a mental note because I had to come down and see our team after, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm down there. The two teams that just played got finished, and the X2 teams that were going on the same ice sheet to warm up with the bad ice we just finished on, they were down there. And then there's college guys everywhere wanting to talk to players, so I would get down there early and just look in the rooms, okay? Just our room and just general locker rooms. But then you go back to the teaching method. So many coaches miss the teaching method. So the locker room is a very sacred place. Okay, it's really one of the most sacred places left in the universe, quite frankly. It is. You know, what's said there stays there. That's just the way it is. It is changing and evolving like the rest of the world, but it is a very sacred place. But for you as a learning to be a good coach or a good teacher, how you go in and address your team after one of the periods or before the game is important, just how you lay out the room. And if you don't lay out the room, then it's kind of a mess. Then your team's a mess. So it's like, if you walk in your room and you start to coach this year and you're there with your team, decide where you want your goalies. Decide how much space they want, because they're their own special animal. They want their space and they want their cake and eat it too. Okay? Nothing against the goalies. Okay? I get it. I don't blame them. Because really, in the end of the day, all my bad teachings, you saved my career end. Okay? So I understand. I get it. So you're gonna get your space. So I put them where majority of the time I don't say anything to the goalies anyways, because I don't have anything that I can really say to them in the first place. It's not like I walk in and say, you guys suck. Like, we're losing because you guys suck. If I already play both of them. I never would say that anyways. It's just like, I don't say anything to them, you know? I just never say anything. So where I put them in the room is really out of my sights. I don't want to talk to them, and I don't want them to see my eyes, because they can get glary at times, I've been told, and then they're like, oh, I don't want to look at that. So I put them where I don't want to see. So my goalies, let's just say, I come in the door here, my goalies might be right here, and I'll stand right here, kind of in front of them. All my D will be to my left, because that's my dominant eye when I coach. And I usually have a lot to say to those players. Okay? My forwards then will go like this, and finish like this, and this is the bathroom door. Then, this spot here is an open wall. That's where every stick is up against the wall. They're not in their own space. All of their bags are underneath where they sit, if there's enough space, or they're crinkled underneath there. This whole area here gives them and me a pathway to walk. And it gives me a pathway to address my team.
So you would suggest establishing this from day one?
Exactly. It'll make you a much better teacher. It'll make your team understand. One of the things that has happened through time in the game is certain parts of our world have lost the historical perspective of how special sport this is. We just think it's historically special because we watch the Stanley Cup and there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. But we forget about the intricacies that were laid far before us. A locker room and how it's laid out, how clean it is, how a jersey never touches the floor, how you would never step on a logo. Never. You would never step on a logo in hockey. You would never, ever put your jersey, it would never touch the ground. It's taboo. The locker room, when it's quiet, how it operates. These are historical parts that were laid way before us. But because of the way the world is, the way the game is, so many teachers have lost that perspective. It's just, if I could use the word, it's a complete gong show. It's a gong show. Parents are in and out, running all over. They have free will to come in. They shouldn't have free will to come in. I don't have free will to go into my kid's school and just walk into class and start talking to my son right in the middle of a lesson. I don't see it any different. You guys have to make your decisions what's right for your organization. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you historically what the game is like. Okay, so how you establish your locker room and how it lays out in all the rinks you go to, every room is going to be different. Some good for you, some will be really tough to do with this type of stuff, right? I get that part. But it really isn't that hard. If you want your team to play fairly well and play like kind of like clean mind and open-minded, the cleaner this is and the more organized this is and how you look at players, the way easier it gets. And what the big part about defense is, you know, I'm going to play with Terry most of the year. You've already decided that as the batting coach, Brian. You've decided that Troy and Terry are probably playing together almost every time. Well, then make us sit by each other. Because defensemen are like an umbilical cord with a mom. If it gets snaps, it's not good. You want good defensemen? They got to work together. They got to do everything together. They can't get too far apart. They got to stay together. The closer they are, the more they work together, the better your team is. The further we get apart, the more dangerous it becomes. So let us sit by each other. Because I got to bounce things off of Terry. Terry's got to say to me. And even if you're at a sport age and you're mini-mite or pee-wee, like, it's good for us to just talk because you're starting to talk about maybe what the defenseman should do. And then we have our own way of communicating as a sport. We have our own communication. So it's just it's a thing that even this weekend at that level of hockey, I noticed was so confusing and so cloudy, right? It was just not good. And so we're losing that. So I just brought it up because I thought it goes through. Did you have another question?
I just wanted to say this last weekend, one of our boys is playing for a new coach, and they drop him off, hour before, and he says, I got 2 minutes. He says, we got to all be ready to go, sitting in our spot with our bags in our locker room, 15 minutes before coach says. So, and I thought that was kind of neat. That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And they knew what the expectation was. And
Yeah.
so, he planned his stuff accordingly to be ready to listen. 15 minutes, sitting in a spot with his bag underneath.
Yeah, it's a big thing, so I just brought it up. I don't want to, beat it up tonight, but just you can process it on your own. All right, practice layout. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to address these 5 things. I want you to split up into 5 groups. So I want you high school players to join some of the adult group and just be a part of it, okay? Would you? So you guys just all, 1 or 2, you go to a group, you just listen in and be a part of it and give some thoughts. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to split up into 5 groups. Terry suggested we do it kind of if you know what level you're kind of gearing yourself to coaching. So this front row here, 4 of you are all happen to be mini-mites, you would kind of get together and let a couple high school kids join you, okay? Whatever your level may be. And then once we get into little areas, I need you to start to, whether it's on a piece of paper, there's 2 whiteboards you can use here that you can use. There's some markers here you can take. And I'm going to give you, let's just say I'm going to give you 6 minutes, if that, 5. I'm gonna say, okay, group one, I want you to huddle up back there with your chairs and sit there for a good another hour. Okay, so wherever you move to, you're gonna sit there for a while. So kind of put them in a circle, get together, start to talk. This group over here, I'm gonna say skill and skate. We've got warm up for a squirt. We're all doing a squirt practice. Give me your drill, and then you're gonna get up and say, this is what we wanna do. We're gonna go, we're on half ice, and we're doing this drill, and we're interested to see what you think. And then we're all gonna discuss. I'll be the lead, but I might say, hey, okay, let's ramp this up to Pee Wee. What changes would we make for Pee Wees if we were coaching Pee Wees? Let's double ramp it up. Let's go to Banners. How would you change the drill? How do we add layers on it or take layers off? Okay. Then we'll have a shooting group right away, then a one-on-one, 2-on-1, and a small area game. So you're all gonna come up with things, then we're gonna walk out of here kind of getting a little bit more into like a practice part. It's the quickest way to get there, otherwise you would be listening to me for another hour and a half just talking about how to do the practice part. And if I was you, and I was sitting in your shoes, which I've tried to be for the last week, I would be confused as to how do I implement this, what we've all talked about, how do I now move it all into this? Like, really? You think I can do that? That's really hard. So I need you to put arms and legs in this for me. So you come up with the drills, I'll ask you, where does it fit? What are you trying to accomplish? And then what can we change to make it better? Or how can we dummy it down for a lower end group? Let's say mini lights, how would we change it? Does that make sense to everybody? So you got about 6 minutes, you get together. We'll go group one over there. Whoever goes in that area right over there, go skill. Let's put a group over by that middle cylinder. Over there, go shooting. Give us a shooting drill. Put a group in the back there by the gentleman way in the back that thinks they got bad breath. Go over there. That one's one-on-one. Give me a 2-on-1 group here and a small area game group here. Small area group. Here we go. Move our chairs.
You should like where's T-Dogs?
By the way, I'm Adam. Hey. Ryan, come on.
Yeah.
Check your box.
Okay, let's just stop for just a brief moment. We'll get back into it because I can see how it's developing. For your groups. And then we'll let you get right back into it in a different way. All right, so let's just take like, where's my scheme? Skill scheme right here. So let's just say, give us one spokesperson. Okay, so somebody's just going to talk about the drill you did, and what is this? Quarter drill is the full half ice. What is it? Go ahead.
Okay, so it's still skating, so we were doing it similar to what the Julie was talking about the other night. We'll start on half ice, we've got a team of squirts, maybe 10, 12 skaters. And we're gonna start out in the zone, and we're gonna let the kids just, stick handle a puck, we each have a puck, and, we're gonna go about 70% speed and have them get their heads up, looking at about, the head of the top of the boards there. Get them comfortable with seeing that, and we'll switch it to, start shrinking that zone and increasing the speed and see how they do. And, the whole part of that, so that's the part of a hole, and the hole would be, any other drill that we do, like a breakout drill or anything else that we do, they have to be able to pick their head up so they can make a decision with the puck, whether it's a pass, whether it's something else.
Okay. So you're doing this on like half ice, right?
Half ice,
Because
yep.
you only got 10 to 12 kids.
Yep.
So everybody watch up here. And now, even though ignore these spots, but I'll use this to guide you. So now we have, we have our players spread out, right?
Yep.
They're gonna be skating around, and they're gonna go on your whistle.
Yep.
So let's just say that's 10 to 12 kids right there. Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay, the whistle's gonna blow. These kids are all gonna skate from the red line in, they're gonna go wherever they wanna go, and they're gonna be able to skate around. Fair enough? And you've said as a group, the head coach has said, we're gonna work on our eyes to see the top of the boards, and then you mentioned we're gonna give you different speeds. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so, and this is for now, what age?
Well, say sports.
Okay, so sport age. Okay, so we've established where they're gonna look as the head teacher, we've established the drill we want them to do, we're gonna talk about the speeds. Okay, fair enough. Does it fall into any of these? Well, it's gonna be obviously at the puck, so that's really what you would probably, if you could add this vocabulary over time, you would say kids are working on things at the puck right now. Doesn't mean you have to, I don't want you to think you have to say that, it's just the more comfortable you get, it makes a lot of sense for their development, okay? Even the high school kids, I would say that helps a lot, when they're working at the puck or they're working away from the puck in this field, because it helps them understand things. So we're gonna do that. Now let's layer it up, okay? So we're at squirt, let's go with Pee Wee as a group. So as a Pee Wee group, how would you layer this up with the same drill, but you're coaching this drill, you like what they're doing, it's gonna go into the program that Russ is doing for you, but now how would you layer it up for your Pee Wee group? Yep, Brian.
Either put obstacles on the ice or condense the area.
Perfect. So now we obstacle it with tires or cones, and we condense the area. So if you go up, you would say that the squirts have it from the red line in, and let's just say if the Pee Wee group, they have it from the blue line. So we've shrunk the space, and we've added apparatus. Go back to your terminology or their terminology, you're gonna add in different speeds. You might say, I want you at full, I want you at half, I want you at quarter, but mainly I want you to get your eyes working for us. Okay, does that make sense? Question or point?
Pressure, mine was gonna be to add pressure.
Okay, so now if we add pressure into that, and we take it to the band group in this organization. So we've had 3 different practices and 2 nights out here, 3 different ages. We're all basically doing the same drill. It's all in Russ's thing, all the things that you guys put into these drills. Now you go in as a head coach or as an assistant coach, you plan your practice. This drill's already been done, but I gotta make it age appropriate for my group. So I just go into the description, which I'll show you, I started the process today. You go in there and then you just add that in. Does this make sense to everybody? So you're taking a lot of the same drills within your organization, you're just apply them to the age and you add and subtract basically what you're doing. Right.
When you talked about this week before, did you say that the squirts may not be able to get up to where the boards meet the glass? So
Yep.
they may have a lower,
They might have a different focal point.
Okay.
Yes, yep. So it's all based on that, or if you have a squirt, let's say to Russ's point, they're holding their stick, you'd say, hey, I want you to always think about your eyes, I want you to be able to see the bottom of the hand of the person in front of you. Well, there's squirts, and then that's as far as their eyes can get up, bottom hand. So you just change the focal point, because they can't get to the top of the boards. Point. Now, the next part is, now it's where, to me, where the real coaching is, and the real teaching is where do we put the people that tend to lean on their sticks? And what are they doing? They could be the obstacles, for sure. They could be the obstacles. The obstacles could also have movement sticks. They could be active sticks, poke checking and fucks away. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. But then the next point is, as they say, the coaches are spread out. It's now your impact is what are you doing to give feedback. Next thing you write down, if somebody was writing things down here, I expect you to write this stuff down, remember it, is now you have to basically work-rest ratio. What is that based on your age? Don't ask a lot out of me if you don't understand how the work-rest ratio is. Don't blow your whistle and then watch me go for almost 2 minutes, and then blow the whistle and say stop, and then change the drill. You might ask me to go 3/4 speed for 15 to 20 seconds, blow the whistle and just let me stop. And first of all, just get used to your commands. Then do it again and say, I only want you at 1/4 speed, and make them go 20 seconds. Add 10 more seconds onto it, let them rest again. Now say I want you at full speed, and give them like 6 seconds. Because they might run into something. So you change the tempo, but where you place yourself as a group of coaches is really critical. Because you gotta remember, somewhere over here, and I'm not saying this has happened, this is make-believe, but somewhere up in there, somewhere around the glass, somebody's trusting you're gonna make their kid better, and they're watching every step you make. So if you're just sitting there on a stick on a log, that's why a lot of people volunteer to coach. They're like, I can do better than that. You're just gonna stand there like, hell, I'll volunteer. That's just the truth. It doesn't apply here maybe, but it applies everywhere else in these lessons. Like, it is just like, I'll volunteer. That's all you're gonna do. Like, you don't move. You don't break a sweat. You never talk to a kid the whole practice. All you do is talk to the head coach. It's like your best friends, but the kids don't get any attention. So, whatever drills you come up with is great. But in the end, where you place yourself as a group of teachers is the next most important part of it. And then now it's where you place them as the head coach or assistants and how you plan this. What's the movement? Because eventually these drills and the next drills will have offense and they'll have defense. So who's accommodating on their offensive development, who's accommodating on their defensive development? If you're high end, that doesn't mean you have to be. Again, it's just understanding. So we've added this. Now let's take this down. Let's go down. Mini mites. We do the same drill, and now we're doing mini mites. What would you do? Mites. What would you change in this drill?
I think it would be something to look at,
Something like that.
and change it up. Have a printout of something we could say, I'm gonna home up and change it.
Yep. Yep. The next part is it might be more stationary with the little group, and it might be just finger identification. Yep, 5, 4, they just yell out how many fingers you're holding up. And you 3 coaches or whatever, take 4 kids in front of you, let them stationary stick down, let them get their head up, and they're gonna go down and up, and let them try and count numbers. Then you've got some movement, but they're not old enough to move yet.
You could also just blow the whistle and have them pick their head up, like when they're not moving, right? Like just practice picking their head up.
Yep, just practice.
Yeah.
And just
Some of them don't even have that.
exactly. Yep, they don't, and they won't for a while once we exercise it that way. So that's a great drill, good start. That's just how we fix it. That's how we add layers to it. We take it away. And the beauty of it is once we get through Russ's part of it, which I'll explain a little bit, that's good. Where's my shooting group? Right over there. So give us a drill. Show us if it's on the whiteboard and just talk us through it.
Okay. We did like the sport one, and then we went up to Pee-wee's because it was very clear.
Okay.
So we have the forward in red, and then we move the puck up to the defenseman, and this defenseman attacks the puck.
Okay, so let's go, hold it up again. What's your first name?
Parker.
Parker, thanks much. Alright, so Parker's got the drill where it starts stationary in the corner, there's a stationary pass out to the D. D moves it D to D, right?
Yeah.
It's a pass. That D gets in the middle, he's gonna shoot. Guy who passed out of the corner's gotta get to the net, and he's gotta tip and screen. Fair enough? Okay? And he's saying, okay, this is a shooting drill for a warm-up for, a squirt group, okay? Okay, so that's the drill. So now if we look at it and we say, we go over here, this you could say, like, this would be like, you know, where you're starting to go into your head, where I feel you guys, at least your body language through 2 weeks is telling me, you gotta put some arms and legs in this. I'm not really following everything you want me to do in terms of putting into practice plan. So that's kind of a part. That's a part of really all the way down here of IZO. That's in-zone offense. So that you have to decide the age of group of your coaching. How much is that really gonna happen? Would I wanna do a shooting drill in practice that would simulate something the kids are trying to do to score in a game at my age? Okay? Then you go to, are we working away from the puck or are we working at the puck? Well, we're working both there. We've got a pass out to the point, that's away from the puck. Then the player who had the puck now is away from the puck, and that player's got to get to the net front for a tip and a screen and rebound, which is very game-like. So you've got both parties at and away from the puck, and you're really working on an IZO play. IZO system tactical area, that's what you would do. So in your practice report, you would as a group put in IZO, and you would say part, and we're working on a shot and a tip. And then you just lay that drill out, and that's a part of what you do offensively. The next time, we want to change it, so let's change it. How do we want to make that drill for, let's just say, the same drill we just talked about, how would you do it for Pee Wee? What would you add to that to make it more difficult because the age is a little older for the Pee Wees?
Apply some pressure out on those points.
Apply some pressure to the points, okay? That's one way to consider, for sure. Other thoughts? Throw the pucks out to the D off the boards or glass, so they gotta work their whole body in front of it, use their hands, use different parts of the body, because it's not always a perfect play, right? So the difficulty of catching the puck to the point would be a different layer. So again, even if you're doing, to your point, if you're doing squirts or you're doing Pee-wees, you might just start with a direct pass. Can't go off the rail at all, want a direct, blade to blade. Second part, now we've been doing it for a little bit, I want a wall pass. Couple weeks down the way, you're like, the kids are old enough at, let's just say the Pee-wee level, you're like, I want it up off the glass, I want the D to corral it, get it under his feet, pass it to his partner, and we go from there. The next level is, I'll put arms and legs on it really quick, we do the exact same thing, except now I'm a left-handed D on the point that gets the puck. But I gotta pass it to my partner, because I'm in Bantams, I gotta backhand that thing across. Okay? Then I'm a coach, I don't have a lot of guys, I don't have a lot of things, so I'm gonna stand between the player in the corner and the net, and I'm gonna make the player who makes the pass to the point at the Bantam level travel around me. He's gotta work through me hard to get through my check to get to the net. So I'm gonna add some resistance to a Bantam player. Does that make sense? Okay?
You could have a defenseman in front of that too.
Could add a defenseman in front of the net for, you know, at the Bantam level to make sure he gets his box out play. Okay, stops that penetration so your goalie can see the puck. So it's, when I remember last week I talked to you about, you don't want a lot of drills, you just want to do them a lot of different ways. This is what I'm talking about. You're actually just adding layers on. You're not really changing a lot of drills. And you can add layers on, so you might get systems. The older you coach in here, you might fill all these terms. You might have a lot of breakout bonds, LRF, IZO drills, but you might only have, let's say, 5 breakout drills the whole year, but you can do them like 6 different ways. Some are designed for half ice, some are designed for full ice. Just depends on what you're doing with the other team, if you're sharing ice. So again, you're getting these things in, plus you're getting at and away in, and you're working on either parts or holes of the drill. So Parker, you guys did a really good job. We won't go to your B1 as much, but because you did that one. Good job. All right, where's my one-on-one group? All right, fire it up back there. I'm going to lead.
All right, we got like a kind of a board battle one-on-one drill. It's where, oh, well, there's 2 of them over here. So it's not this one, it's this one.
Okay.
So you got a forward that starts with pucks, and then your D is kind of started right in the D zone.
Yep.
And then the forward dump a puck in, you can either shoot it at the goalie for a rebound to the corner or just a dump in the corner.
Yep.
Defenseman has to skate backwards and then react, shoulder check, and then pick up the puck while this forward goes in and forechecks him.
Yep.
And then the forward has to either score, or the D has to get it off the glass, or skate it out.
Perfect. So very competitive.
Yeah.
Awesome. So there's resistance all over the place. Okay, and that was set for Pee Wee group or squirt group? Bantam group. Let's just say Bantam. All right, so let's take it as a group. Let's dummy that down to Pee Wee. How do you make it simpler for a younger age? Even if you guys have the answer, you already did it. Speak up. Go ahead, Parker.
Oh, they could just start. I don't know if that'd be fast. Or the D could just start down there.
So the D said that you could start in the corner. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Versus making the pass up.
That's how we initially had it, but then we kind of stepped it up.
All right, let's go to squirt. How do you make it even simpler? Not that you would maybe do a one-on-one drill all the time, or it might be November before you get to it. I'm just saying, if you were working with squirts, how would you do this one-on-one drill? Anybody? You guys have any thoughts? You guys came up with the drill.
We could just like keep the forward end D like right here, maybe just like a rush from the bottom of the circle.
Yep, just simplify the space.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Let's say you take it to high school Bantam. How would you guys do that drill in high school? What would you add as a twist as a group of high school players?
I don't know, I wouldn't keep it much. Maybe like start maybe back here, then get speed, and then have more of like a line rush.
Yep.
And then have the forward dump it or shoot, and then the D's like backpedaling.
Yep.
Just a turn.
Just add more movement in with your forward and your D for pivoting and opening up.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more game-like as much as you can make it. That way you're gonna force, as you get older, the more they've got a shoulder check, the more feet work that are involved, the more applicable it is to a higher level. Does that make sense to everybody? The less you do with the feet and the head, the lower the level. As you get up, now it's about tempo and pace, and it's about intensity. Okay, so now it's really about, the other part would be it's an intensity thing. For that group of mostly high school players sitting there, the intensity and the work-rest ratio is most critical for me. Like I can't do this again this week. It might be the only time we do it, so what I need to get out of the group is I need to get the level of compete where I think it is applicable to this age, and maybe at that level who we're playing. You know what I'm saying? Like I think we've gotta be a higher compete than we just did it. So you might alter it that way. Any other questions on that? That's a one-on-one way to look at it. Good drill, good thoughts. Who's my 2-on-1 group? Okay, 2-on-1, go ahead.
So we have our.
Why don't you stand up and face it? Thank you. Good detail.
So we've got our forwards on the red line, and then our defense just inside the blue line, we'll skate up a little bit, pass it to one of the crossing forwards, pivot, and accept the rush 2-on-1.
Okay? And that's for what level?
It'd be probably about PB drill, and then we kind of thought of ways to dumb it down.
Okay. So now we'll just say the puck's starting here.
Yep,
Okay, so this player skating up is gonna pass either way or one way?
either way.
Okay? Either way. So this player can pass either way, it goes back 2-on-1 this way, it's a half ice drill. Let's take it to the Bantam level. What are we changing? How would you change this drill?
Make the defenseman chase it down, chase it dump in, and then come up and, get full.
Yep, so you could have, like, let's say if you go to Bantam, you could have the D start here, go up and go around, have the coach right here, and just spot a puck back here, so that when they go back, they gotta look over their shoulder, grab it, carry, and then distribute. So just add feet work here, because it's age applicable if it's Bantam. So you could add it that way, okay? Obviously, this whole thing could be set up by a coach here, you could have a D here that comes out to the top of the circle, go back. You could even do a shot on net, do a puck recovery, meaning the D's gotta work with the goaltender, get the puck back, sprint up the ice, distribute the puck at the blue line, and then get up here in the gap and take the 2-on-1. So you can start to, when you get to Bantam age, if you're involving your goaltender into the practice and how you do things, that's a real advantage for everybody in the room. It might be applicable even at a smaller level. The other part would be, now you guys say, let's go to squirts. Let's forget all this just happened. Let's go to squirts. How would you dummy this down to squirts? Same drill. This is the D starting here and he's skating up. What would you say with the squirts?
Eliminate the pass.
Yeah, you can have the coach
So then you have to say to yourself as a group of teachers, we're working a little bit at the puck, we're working a little bit away from the puck. Fair enough? Okay, but let's just say our squirt coach in here, who's a squirt coach? First name?
Adam.
Adam, my bad, sorry Adam. Adam, you just call me Tony then if I don't know your name. Alright, so then, Adam says, we're gonna take away the pass, we're not gonna do that. But I would say to Adam, if I was out here watching, I'd say, what do you really wanna get out of the drill? What's the root of what you want out of the drill? And he says, well, the reason why we're doing the drill is really for the 2-on-1 portion. That's what we're doing. That's a fine, Terry. It's a major fine. How you adults have one night of drinking in town.
How about tonight?
Hey, to his credit, he doesn't know how to turn his ringer off.
So, now I would say, okay, what's the root of what you want to do? Okay, and the root of what he wants to do is he says, I really want the 2-on-1. Well, again, if he's coaching a lower level, you're right in saying, I don't want to pass from the D to the forwards. Because the likelihood of that getting connected isn't very high. Right? So then you're like, what's the root of, I always gonna tell you this all winter, if you call me, I'll say, what's the root of what you wanna do? Is it the 2-on-1? Is it the D making the pass? Like, what is it you really wanna accomplish out of the drill? And you're gonna say, I want everything. I want the whole thing. I get it, but if you don't have a lot of time, what is it you wanna do? Then you have to eliminate, or you have to shrink this space. If we go to squirts, we might just move the D right up into here, and we might say, go out to the middle, catch a hard pass, take a shot. I'm going to give you a pass, take a shot as a young kid. They're going to shoot on the goalie, turn around, get another pass, take a skate up and make one pass. Now I've gotten a shot out of my D every time. So there's a million ways, again, like how you just take a simple drill like this and it just depends on what you really want to work on. If I want to work on offense at the puck, I want to work on goalie making a pass, I want to work on just the 2-on-1 component, well, I might make it even simpler than that. I might not have my forwards that far apart. The farther they are apart in young ages, the less success you're going to have. You're just going to chase pucks the whole practice. Right? So then you have to say, oh, okay, well, like for example, just keep holding this. If I said a 2-on-1 drill and I want reps, okay? I might put a player here and a player here, a player here and a player here in my group and draw another circle in the ice with my big marker here and there. And then I'm going to put a player here, I'm going to put a player here, I'm going to put a player here, and a player there. And I say the root of what I want with my squirts is I want puck touches. So now I've got them in a confined little area and you're going to play 2-on-1 and both of these forwards can move around the outside of the circle and pass. This player in the middle can stay in the middle, can attack the player with the puck, but cannot back up to the player without it. And we're just going to play 2-on-1 through this player. And if this player picks it off, this player goes to the outside, the player who passed goes to the middle. It just keeps going. Now, if you said to me, the root of the 2-on-1 was to get as many puck touches as I could with my squirts, that's a lot of puck touches in 3 circles. Even in an 8-minute drill, that's like off the charts puck touches. That's what you're at. If you said as a group of coaches, we want to do a 2-on-1 drill with squirts, but let's say you're doing something like this, you'd end up chasing pucks the whole practice because the level of success and execution wouldn't be very high. There's too much space for them. So start confined as teachers, let them understand how much they have to move pucks and how to get their puck touches down. And then once you start to get away from this, then get away and then start your more of your full ice thing. So if you say puck touches, and even I might do this even with bantams. Heck, I do it with pros. Because I want a number of puck touches, and I want offense at the puck, this player here, I want this guy moving with it, and I want offense away from the puck, this guy knows how to move and get away. I got defense kind of at the puck, like with the stick position. I'm working on all those components in that drill. But it's confined, and if they lose a puck, there's just a whole bunch sitting right here, there's a whole bunch sitting right here, they just keep grabbing pucks, and they keep playing until my whistle. Does that? So you kind of look at your confined space when we get into 2-on-1s. We look at what the root of what you want. Is it a defending issue that you want to work on for his group? Is it a whatever it may be, or their group here? Does that make sense? So this is a good drill they did. Now we just add or subtract players. All right, let's go to small area games and we're done. Not done.
I'll hold this up, Coach Mark, you can walk through it if you want.
Okay, so this
You
is,
want to come up here?
Oh.
No, man, you're getting in on this.
Okay, this is kind of like a power play game, basically. So we're gonna have 2 nets, goalie in each net, hopefully, and then basically set your O's on the hash and up high on this circle, and your X on the hash and up high in this circle. It starts with the coach just doing a little soft dump in the middle, and then X and then O are gonna go battle for the puck. Whoever wins the battle is trying to get the puck over to their side. So if X wins the battle, they're trying to get over here. They gotta send it high, and then they start basically set up in like a basic triangle form, 3-on-1, where the O is in here trying to defend. And then if the O can come up with the puck, if he can get it over this way and send it over to this side, they gotta get it high, and then the X has gotta chase back over here, 3-on-1 over here. So it's kind of a side-to-side deal. Makes sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Alright, tell me where you're placing you and Slooper as coaches and what you're doing. Show me where you put you guys, if you plan to practice, where would you put both you guys as coaches and what would you be teaching?
Sure. So obviously we're gonna have one coach up here, Nathan Dumbs, as far as that goes. Otherwise, I would say probably watching the D up high, making sure the puck gets up there, and just kind of seeing how they move the puck around from a closer spot within this area.
Okay?
So, can I jump in?
Yeah, go for it. Please do.
So if I had a couple other assistants, or if I was a head coach, probably up here, and then my assistants would be down here on the sides. We have a battle drill going on basically right in through here. Here, we don't want our kids being pylons, here just stationary.
Yep.
We want them to be able to move within these areas, cause otherwise even younger kids at younger ages are gonna get pretty bored. We don't need to describe to a squirt age group what we're really doing is setting up maybe an attack. On a power play, that's irrelevant probably at a squirt level.
Right.
But when we start to move into PVs and bantams, yeah, we're talking about puck movement, stick placement for the defender here, and how we're trying to get that stick into passing lanes on, say we're trying to kill a power play. And then how our hands are and so forth like that, on more advanced levels probably. But to answer your question directly, I put the assistant coaches here and here, cause there are a lot of teaching points that can come out of this.
Yeah. If I was the head coach and these two are my assistants, I would eventually blow it down. Let's say, how often in your smaller games here typically would you play that as a group of coaches here? At the end of practice or during practice? How many minutes would that last? Adam? No, they know your name.
Say a number.
8.
8 minutes. Okay, so if that's 8 minutes, and it's at the last 8 minutes, we'll just bump it to 10. Okay, we'll say it's the last 10 minutes of practice. We're gonna play the small area game. Of that time, how much do you want that's really play time, and how much do you still need to give them feedback and teaching? So I would say as the head coach, and these guys were my assistants, I would put, I'd blow my whistle and I'd say, he's got the offensive group, so you guys are all gonna, the group that's just been working on the offensive part, if that was designated, see Coach Lou. He's got some words for you. And he might be talking about stick position and the ability to just execute the pass and maybe the tempo of the pass based on the age. You would then say, on your side, if you're working on the defensive spot, there's only 1 versus 3, but you're more talking about their stick position and their toe caps and how they stay controlled and how they just move and they're
There's a lot
not
of times.
chasing all over the rink.
Our
trying
age
to
is
stop.
all the time. We'll run after every puck.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah.
You just want them to calm down. So as a coaching staff, that's what we would do. That's the important part, because that's the feedback part. The drill is the drill. You can come up with maybe let's just say it's not a very good drill this winter, as long as you're explaining whatever that not very good drill is, what you want out of it. There's still gonna be offense at the puck, there's still gonna be offense away from the puck, there's still gonna be, maybe a system if it's age appropriate or an area of what they're trying to understand that might be applicable, and for a lot of you it won't be, that's fine. But you still have to be able to teach the drill. You have to be able to teach the drill and give feedback. Because the next time we come back and we do the same thing, I would hope that both assistants, if I was running the drill by, let's say, all I was worried about was the first puck battle. That was my role, and then I could work the tempo of the drill, and when I blow it down, these guys wouldn't have to repeat themselves. They might have to give a reminder. Remember last week we did the drill? Here's what I mentioned, can we tighten this up? Coach, we're good. They only talked to him for like 40 seconds, blow the whistle, we start again. So let's say we participated for 8 and we talked for 2. But as the year goes on, you might start, it might be 5 and 5. You're like, until we get it right, I gotta keep teaching until we understand what we're trying to accomplish. So where do you place your coaches? Great drill, great game. It's a really good game. It's a fun game for kids. But it's also now like to the point of where we teach from. How would we make this age appropriate for our high school kids in the room? How would you react as a group of high school kids? You're playing this game, what would you change?
You want us to answer that or the kids?
Either one. Oh, go ahead if you want.
Yeah, I would say, start with a 2-on. We thought it'd be harder for squirts, but you could start with a 2-on-2 puck battle.
Yep.
And then, then they can get into position over there, then you're playing more of a 3-on-2, so you got a little bit more traffic in there in that sense too.
Yep.
And then when it switches sides, you just have only one guy waiting up here on your side, otherwise you have to fill those positions, but it's worth that probably be easy.
Okay. High school kids, any feedback, what you would change? I would say. Go ahead.
Shot clock.
Shot clock?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. It's a great example. So meaning you can move it so long, I'm assuming you can move it so long you gotta get a shot. You can't just pass it forever. Fair enough? Great move.
I would say maybe like expand the play area, like put the pucks in the neutral zone maybe, and then like take a shot, they play it out, and then the 3 people or the 2 people that are playing it, maybe like there's a guy at the point and then a guy on the half wall instead of like just around circles. Cause it's more game like you're using the ice more.
Okay, how would we dummy it down? Go ahead, I'll answer.
I was gonna add to it a little bit.
Yep, go ahead.
I definitely make score and like the score of the game a big part of that. And I also give the goalies an ability, if they like make a save or they do something you want them to do, that they can score as well, to really get them involved as how to control the puck. They're gonna get a lot of shots, right? So how do they control it? How do they score? Do you want them, freeze it? They get a point. They get scored on. Whatever, they always get a point. X's get a point if they score. I think it's that competition could be a big part of it too.
Good, big part of it. Going back to the young man, what's your first name in the back there?
David.
David. To David's point, if you don't put time limit on it, they will pass forever. The goalie doesn't develop, and no one gets any better at shooting. That's just the history of any small area game. So you have to put, depending on the age you're sitting in here with, and you're thinking you're gonna coach this level, and I might wanna play some form of this game, and it's probably gonna be in our system. But at my level, I can play it for 10 minutes, but I have to make some tweaks. And I probably have to add this or take away that. But the shooting part of it will be a big issue depending on the age you're playing at. The next part is if you're doing littler kids, where the nets are, like you might move the nets to the back wall. Because you might want, the shots are gonna go wide and you want them to continuously be in play. You know what I'm saying? Like little kids, it doesn't matter if the net's on the goal line or not. You just put it against the back wall, shots are wide, puck's still right away in play, and they just keep playing. You know what I'm saying? Where if they're small kids and you wanna play this game, they're just chasing pucks forever. And so the root of what you're trying to do, you're not getting the root of that. Does that make sense? You're not trying to get that. So, good drill. Any other comments on the drill?
So I just throw it up, like,
Yeah.
try, like, do you concern yourself with younger age groups if you had something like this, when these kids on this side of the ice getting just kind of bored? If they're not, obviously we want them to be moving around and anticipating the play to come over to this side, but
Right.
I guess, any thoughts on that?
Yep, as the coach, because you have the coach there with the pucks, the whistle blows, pass it over to the other side.
So
You just regulate it as a coach.
just move it.
Just maybe give them like 15 seconds after
Yeah.
that and fire the puck the other
Yeah,
corner.
you'd hope to get some yin and yang back and forth,
Right.
and you will as you get older in here, but you might not at a pee-wee squirt level. It might just sit over there for a while. You're gonna have to blow the whistle, pass the puck over, let people that are transferring transfer over and play. And then you always wanna reward the people for a goal, so you just wanna keep giving them. If they get a goal, the worst thing is, remember, understand it from my perspective when I talked about Yager last week and Kovalev, working with guys like that. They really taught me, I didn't know as a Division III player, but if I'm a highly talented player, and I'm a highly talented squirt in this town, on the squirt A team, like my mentality, even though you don't understand me yet because of my age, my mentality is if I'm doing something good, give it back. Like that's just the way people are wired when they're good at something. Like, so you have to be a little bit conscious of, if the team scores, like, they want the puck again. A lot of coaches will be like, well, we're fair. You guys scored, so I'm gonna pass it to this side. But what happens really truthfully, and it might be at a higher level than you might think, or maybe you think it's that way, but it's really not. The better players are the players that are gonna butter your bread every week. And those players will score, not only as squirts, they'll score as peewees, they're gonna score again as bantams, and they're gonna score in high school. That's just the way the game works. There will be some maturation through it, but the goal scorers score. And the thing is, they want the puck. So in certain games that you play in small area, you gotta give back to the people that just did well. You at least have to consider that. I would highly consider that, because it's no different than how you treat a goalie in practice. You're asking me to make a lot of saves on Saturday and Sunday, but you don't do any drills that involve me during the week, and I get no goalie teaching. So like, you have to do something for me to want to be able to stop pucks and really do everything I'm doing for you. Well, it's the same thing with skill players. So reward the skill. If they score, give them the puck. That's an option for you.
Just maybe a philosophical question. How much of competitiveness is taught? So like in that example, you may be implying that certain kids, their nature is to be competitive.
Yep.
And if you're more fair, then they lose a competitive edge. But on the other side of it, if you do all these things, how many kids that may be just so-so in their competitiveness can pull into being competitive?
More than we think. But I think that's what we've talked about for 3 weeks ago, that's what you call a feel. That's your intuition as the coach, the teacher, the adult in this room, high school kids that are helping out, college kids that are helping out. That's your feel. That's the beauty of the yin and yang of the 2 coaches or 3 coaches on the ice. You gotta get together and go, you sense what I'm sensing? Like, look at their body language here. Like, we need to adjust how we play this game, because I think we're losing this group here and we're not gaining this group here, or whatever it may be. So that's your feel of working through that. Any other questions about just those drills? What
I
time
would
is it?
just make a
Yeah.
comment on that too. I think that if you get kids that are like likability, the competitiveness comes out. Like if I put one of my lower level mites up against the best one, they start crying. You know? So yeah, like if you can, yep.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Just make a comment on that.
Yeah.
I think in any case, you always try to put kids of likability.
Yes, always.
And you see how we do mites, right?
Yeah.
We put these kids and these kids
Yeah.
and it's like the ability levels, and I think, yes, I think that.
But it can happen at the squirt level too, right? And even the peewee level, it's like, try and get them a good competitor.
Yep.
We want good competitors to compete.
And when we're on this topic, because it's a big topic, it's a hard one, and I don't have the right answers, but I've had enough experience with it. When you got likability, okay, so when you're talking about likability and how you put this group in this corner, this group in this corner, that's, do whatever you think is right. I'm not here to tell you that. But remember about likability. Like, I need as much love as the guys without likability, or the people that are less than me. So I need feedback. So I'm always gonna need one of my coaches to remind me, like, this is what we expect. This is our expectation from you. So a lot of times with players that are elite, let's just call them the elite corner group, that group of likability, they need then to be pushed basically on execution and pace. They do the same drill, but their pace, what they're accountable to, and their execution level is through the roof, because they recognize left and right hands. They recognize the difference between 3/4 and full speed. So what we're saying over in this corner of this drill, what we're saying to this corner, this group isn't our most talented group of our squirt team of the 12. These are our more talented kids in this corner. Well, the pace at what I ask these guys to do, and the same thing I'm doing over here, is different than this group. And that has to get conveyed. That's the one thing, is you always have to keep developing our best players here in the community at a high rate. They need as much love. The better we are, then people will still take their options to go to Hudson or go to the cities and go wherever they want to go, and that's everybody's choice. But as a group of coaches here, we have to have the ability to reason like, ooh, these kids are pretty elite. This group here, we've really got to push. And here's how we have to push them and why we have to do it. What else you do in the organization and how you structure it, that's all your business. There's a million ways to talk about elite players in an organization. But if we look like where we're at, we just talked about just that concept alone. Could you imagine us living in, we're all doing this, and we all live in Woodbury? Do you know what it's like to be a parent and coach in Woodbury?
Just don't ever want to play Diner. Never want to play
has got players that go into Eastview, Woodbury High School, Park Cottage Grove, Stillwater, Creighton, St. Thomas Academy, Hill Murray. And they've raised, you guys are all Woodbury coaches, you've raised every kid in Woodbury. But if you're not taking care of the best kids, what do? They're going to Hill, they're going to Creighton, they're flying the coop. I'm not saying that that's the way we should think or even discuss it in detail. My point of the conversation is be aware of who your best players are, develop them, do the best you can. You might do a wonderful job and they still might choose to do something else. That's people's choice. But as a group of teachers and coaches, if we're really good at what we're doing and we are really on top of that and we say, well, you alter certain things for them and we do things, we don't give them extra privileges or nothing, but we teach them well, then you're doing your job. What does happen though around a lot of parts of the US and all over is they don't take their best players and they don't make them better. Because they're not conscious of it, they just feel like they'll just do it on their own. That's not the case. The best players need to be pushed as hard as the kids that are developing. So that's just a conversation, that's just for you to understand. It doesn't mean that you're gonna do what I say or anything, that's just brain dump. Okay, any other questions about these drills? So now we've gotten our drills going. What time is it, please?
8:05.
8:05. All right, so do we have till 8:30 technically? Or is it 8?
8:30.
All right, so now we're going down this path and now we're starting to do drills in these different areas, which this, I wouldn't say that you're always gonna do one-on-ones and two-on-ones in the practice. I'm not saying that, I just said it for development purposes. But you're going to lay out a practice, okay? So now I'm gonna give you this sheet here. There's 30 copies made. I just need some workers to work with me. Did you hand those out? Or divvy them up? To two of you, hand it out. You hand out half of those. You hand out half of those. Hand out, everybody, there's 30, so I don't know how many people are in here, but there's two different sheets. You need them both.
We don't need a board meeting.
So the high school guys don't necessarily need them. So at the end, you should have really two sheets. One's got two-sided, and one's just got one side, and it should be just crossover with overspeed.
No, there's two different sheets.
Actually,
We need, 4 copies of it.
Individual drills, and we see like, they're doing around passing, you know, goalie might get feet hot, they're doing some movement. Like, you said you wanted to sit there, someone on their phone, hang out.
You might want to put, like, if you're doing your warm-up skating drill, you might want to put one of your coaches right there and like, you know, there's ways to figure it out, I'll help you, but just figure out some movement skating things that they should be doing separate of what the other people are doing. Okay, just crease work. Usually they call letters, making W's, making X's, things like that. They should be passing to you, where you just passing the puck. They gotta pass the puck back to you. They should be doing all kinds of just shooting on warm-up. This always involves the goals. They should be really well looked after as much as you can. Okay. The question was about the goaltenders in practice and how much we involve them, how much we get them involved, and it's critical that you, as a group of teachers and coaches in here, get your goalies involved right away in practice. If you want your goalies to develop and get better, involve them right from the get-go in practice. That means you might have to separate one coach out, I just said, to them, like you gotta separate a coach out to make them do letter drills with no pucks. There's a lot of stuff online to find that. You might wanna do where you shoot just in the gloves and make them make saves. You might wanna make them you might wanna shoot them the puck, let them catch it, make them pass it back to you. Like you've gotta develop your goaltenders all the time in the first part of practice. When you talk about the shooting drill, which group here? The middle group did our shooting drill. That's the other part. Like you've got to be really conscious as a group of teachers, like how many kids are shooting and actually hitting the net. Because you'd be able to say, are we working on shooting? Well, if we are, that's a 4x6. We haven't hit it hardly at all with any kids. And our goalie's actually probably got worse. I mean, he hasn't played very long anyway, and he hasn't stopped a puck in 8 minutes. because we can't even hit the net. So then you gotta look at the duration of how far they're skating with the puck to shoot the puck. And then when they are age appropriate, can they even hit the net from that distance? So these are things we don't normally think about, especially if you work a full-time job and you wanna volunteer or you're getting paid some money to coach, you wouldn't even think about the goaltender. But then yet on Saturday, you're hoping that that little young man or woman plays really good for you. And the reality is, the more you do with them in the practice and you assign a coach to them, the better off they'll be. Okay, so that's hard thing, I'll always help you through it, but that's an idea.
Do you believe in separate goalie practices?
Most organization in today's world, yes. They would have like a Sunday morning or a Sunday and Monday night here, they would have a goaltender instructor, they'd come in and all the goalies and all the nets would be out there and they'd get work. I don't know if you do or you don't, but that's kind of what happened across the board.
Oh, thanks.
Yep, they're getting a lot of feedback. All right, now this one here. So this is really what Russ basically is going to walk you through at some point in time. Am I speaking right?
Yep.
Okay. So what I did today was I said at 9:26 this morning, really early, I went to my office and just said, okay, I'm going to try and learn how to use this. Okay. Keep in mind my age. Keep in mind that I'm pretty savvy on computers because I type all my notes, but I wasn't that savvy on this system, so I bothered Russ like 6 times this morning with phone calls. I got so far in and then I said uncle, I didn't say aunt. I said uncle, I'll get this far and that's as far as I'm gonna go. Okay, so what it is though, is this tool is gonna be really, really helpful for you. But I will tell you this, like anything else in life, it is a discipline. Once you get this discipline down, you'll be really good. You'll be really good and you'll enjoy coaching. The tough part about coaching sometimes and teaching is that your work week is really busy and then all of a sudden it's Tuesday night and you're like, holy God, we gotta practice still. I gotta come up with something. I gotta make dinner. I gotta get to the rink. Or I gotta go do this and I gotta do that. And then you gotta get there and then you're like shooting from the hip. And that's where in the end everybody loses. Okay, so you're trying to avoid that. This tool, I honestly believe, will really save you a ton of time. But the entry part to start is going to take you time. And then you got to learn how to use it. So I just learned on the fly today. But basically, it says practice notes. I just said if I emailed this out to the coaches, let's be positive tonight on 9/26. Let's have some energy as a group. Let's show our players we care. That was my message to my coaches. It's a skill development practice. Our focus point tonight is skating, stick handling, passing, and receiving. We want to go through these at a slow pace and a fast pace. That's what I want my coaches to understand. Then I say down, eyes and caps must be a major part of our teaching. While we focus on vision, we also need to be aware of the speed that we ask for and with good execution. So I'm basically telling my staff, like, hey, when you get there, I know you've had a tough day, you've been working really hard to be there on time. This is what we're going to do. So the drills we've laid out for the most part. When you get into November, parts of October, you should have a lot of drills, and now we've got them layered like 6 different ways. We're doing this drill, and it's called this. So the second page works like this, where it says 2-player and inside edges, races, it's on the back side of that page. Basically, when you go into the computer system, which he's gonna teach you, and you start typing in what the drill is, it's gonna pull it right in. So if you put a 2 in right away, and you put a space, and then put player, it's gonna put that in immediately. So it'll pop up, and then you just click on it, and then you just dump it into that practice plan. It's that quick. Now, the thing you might do is, under my notes, I might have this drill done, and for my age, I might have this done for my squirt group, but I might be doing this 6 or 7 different ways, or maybe I've set it up just two ways to start the year, but as me and my staff get out there, things start to pop into our head. Now we're adding this layer to it. Now we're adding that layer to it. So now you just go back home, you go into the drill, you change or add something in the drill, so then when you put it in next time, you say, we're gonna do option C. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's fairly, and then it just drops everything into the practice plan for you. You don't have to do it, you can just print it, and then you basically just go and practice and it's done. You already laid out your drills. You've already named your drills. The only thing I found in utilizing this today is even though I typed in 2-player inside edges and races, I got to a certain point where I was trying to learn the system. I forgot what the keywords were. So when I went to type in the drill name, I was like, I don't remember what I called it. So I just suggest when you make a drill and you name it, you should write it on a separate piece of paper. Because then you're gonna go a week later and start to type in like Troy Ward escape drill, and you'll be like, oh, I forgot Troy's name. I don't know, it's escape. Totally, yeah. John. So that's basically it. So then I did the description. You can put sticks in, you can put cones in, you can draw squiggly lines, you can do whatever. It's really a nice piece to work with. The sticks are laying on the ice. We got a forward. I put F1 and D1, even though it's not really a forward and D. I can change it. And now it's all just what it says underneath. It's just working on inside edges, and you got to race and try and catch the body. So you identify who the player is you want to catch the other one, F1 or D1, and then they got to go around the stick, and they can go opposite ways. The guy can he's got to go around and try and touch it. But it's all inside edge work, and it's all swiveling of the hips and just inside edges. So it just propels them. It teaches them how the inside edges work. It's age appropriate to this age, and then you can add layers to it. The drill, it says it's 4 minutes long. That's all it is. It's 4 minutes of practice working on inside edge. Then the second one was I drew, and I tried to get a little bit more creative to show you how you can do it. I did options 1, you can see a 1 in the bottom left, 2 in the upper left, and then I put a 3 down the bottom right. I gave you 3 different ways to do it. Drill will be done to maximum speed, and failure is okay. So I said failure is okay. First time with a stick at top speed for them personally. So whatever their top speed is, I want them to get to that. Because they're all different speeds. So I would specify, like, let's just say Adam's a really good skater, so I want Adam at top speed. And I go over and say, Adam, probably our best skater. You gotta get to a point of failure here. If you're getting to a point of failure, Adam, you're gonna be a really good player by the end of the year. I don't want you to go at the same speed as Troy. I would say that eventually to kids, just to help them identify. Then the second time, no stick at top speed for them personally. And the third time, add pivots in. So you see down on the third diagram, I just added a pivot in, so they had to pivot, go backwards and forwards, but they were still doing all crossover stuff. So they had to go from backwards back to forward crossover. So I just added a twist in. But that's really how this whole system will work with IHS, with you guys and Russ. And then, I'm just not speaking out of turn here. I'm trying to be what will happen. So then this all goes, and this is what Russ tabulates and sees how you do, and then he can do all his analytical stuff and tell you, like, geez, you're working on, he might say to our band coach, Brian over here, he might say, hey, look, you've done in the month of October, you've done like 18 breakout drills in the month. Brian, like, oh, I had no idea. And you're like, yeah, Russ says you did 18. And then he goes, well, no wonder why we get out of our zone all the time. It makes sense. Like, we're never in our zone. We do so much breakout work. But then Russ says, but your ICO work, you've done 2 in the month of October. And Brian's like, yeah, we scored 4 goals in 3 games. That makes sense. Like, we're not doing anything down in that part of our development. So that tool is a really useful tool. And I will tell you that a lot of youth organizations don't have this. They don't have this mechanism. I'm telling you, as a longtime teacher and coach, the difficult part will be to have the discipline to create your drills and put them in there. Once that's done, piece of cake. Yes.
So do you have suggestion for the coaches? What, is it just, at sports, maybe they just take the BO, the bonds, or, like, so for bands, does Brian just say, hey, today I saw my team, I wanna work on ICO, or I wanna work on this? Is it just kinda, based on what they're seeing with the team?
Based on what they're seeing with the team, I would do this with all my drills. I would identify if you were at, let's just say, I think for a lot of you, you're not going to be too consumed about this stuff here, to be quite honest with you. Some of you it won't matter to you. Okay, and that's okay. That's okay, as long as you understand it. That's most important. Your application is age-based. But for a guy like Brian, if Brian goes to this drill right here, and it says 2-player inside edges, and it says races. And Brian types in LRF, and then he names the drill, Troy Ward LRF drill. But he puts in LRF. Every time that Brian goes to that computer to do up his practice plan, and he wants to work on attack, and he goes LRF, it's gonna pull up every drill. Just like that. So then it's way easier. So even, first name again, so sorry. Nicole. Even for Nicole with the littler kids, she might say, geez, none of that really works, but I guess I do want to start to identify some ice stuff. So we're going to work on a lot of skill work, but let's just say you wanted to say it's skating. Just type in word skating and name the drill. And every time you type in skating, it's gonna give you a drop down of all your skating drills. Stick handle, shooting, backward skating, whatever it is, type it in and then it's easy to find in the system. Okay, if you said you got to a point with the mini mics, well, I'm still developing, so I think we're gonna type in skating and then I'm gonna put dash breakout. Cause I wanna start to introduce the term, like we're in our own end, this is a breakout. Then you just type in that and make that drill. So the beauty of this part here of pulling up the drills is really how you term it. If you term it by my system area and you're a pretty high level coach in here, then it's gonna be easy to find your drills all the time.
And there's also tags in this, so we can tag it with LRF, bonds, BO.
Yep.
So, and I'll show you guys.
Yeah, so he's
We'll
gonna
get that
show you all
scheduled.
that. I just think it's really a cool tool and it makes it a lot easier. I mean, truthfully, anywhere I go and do this or anybody I would work with, I would tell them to probably use the system. I've never used the system until today. The guys in Rochester, Minnesota that's doing it, I guess, is that true?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing, but I think that the discipline would be for you, it's almost like, again, Adam, like he would have to start to probably take a little bit of time and go, all right, this is the age I'm coaching, I'm gonna take a little bit of my Sunday morning when the kids are in bed, I'm gonna have a big cup of coffee and I'm gonna try and create a couple of drills. And then just log them in. And then once you get to your practice time, you've already got drills that you wanna just try and execute. It'll make it a lot simpler.
Do you know if we get access to other people's drills, like the association puts, here's 25 drills that we really like, and here's that mid-level, and you can
Yep.
dumb it down or make them more
Yeah,
complicated?
they have,
There's a share feature.
but they have like, I think it's maybe 800 or more drills that they have, plus it's our association is a group, so you'd be able to look at Bantam, Pee Wee on down.
Maybe that might be something,
log in.
just a consistent naming structure as people make.
I have that in documentation, we'll go over that, yeah. I'm a programmer, so I'm all about naming conventions.
Yeah, so it's gonna be really, I'm telling you, I think it's gonna be really slick. And the big thing, again, I just wanna hammer home is, if I could use that word, hammer home, but I mean, I wanna hit you in the head with it, is like, don't do a lot of drills. If you want me to improve, keep the drills like maybe whatever your age appropriate group is, I don't know, like Nicole might say, well, with our group, it might be like 20 drills because we got such young kids. And I wanna name them all after the little kid's last name, and I want everybody to have one. We might have 20 drills, but of the 20, Nicole and her staff are doing some of those drills 5 or 6 different ways. Or it might be just as simple like, hey, the execution, this is the time we're gonna do this drill in January, so I think we should be able to do it at this pace. And I'm gonna put a time on it for them, where we've never had a time on it before. Once you get that built in, like, I'm telling you that it becomes much better. And what will help you is you will become better teachers actually in the practice than you would be if you're trying to draw a drill before practice, put it on a paper, and then go out and execute it. You'll still be, that's a good step, but let me just tell you from experience, you will be way better if you do this way before and then you get to practice or process it. You'll find yourself in the drill and you'll be like already thinking of ways we can tweak this. We're gonna do this again next time, but we're gonna add this in. And then you'll watch your kids get better. And the big part of it for Brian, who's is there a high school coach still here? No, he's not. Do we have another Bantam coach? Okay, do we have another Bantam coach?
Yep.
Okay, so our Bantam coaches, let's say the 2 guys that are helping with the high school, okay? So here's an example of what I'm talking about, all right? Who's got the whiteboard here? Use that whiteboard. We're kind of wrapping up here, but I want to just walk you down this thing. So, as you become teachers and you look at what we're doing here, and we said that this is, we said that we'll go up and down the ring. Okay, so we got breakout, we got bonds. Okay, thank you. We got LRF, which is between the 2 blues. This goes to this side. And then we got IZO. Okay, then we have this side, it's forecheck. Then from the red line to the top of the circles, we got forecheck neutral zone. We we've got from blue line into the zone, we've got this as LRA, and from here to here, we got this as DZC. Okay? So now we kind of just get into the discussion of one puck drills. Okay, a little bit on this, and I'll show you how it works. So when you start to do breakouts and you start to add, depending on your level, what I said to the Bantam coaches in the high school group, if the high school group of players learns the game and they do enough drills in these areas, how to get up the ice and how to get back down the ice when they don't have the puck, and they do it for the most part with one puck drills, and they're more of a full ice team, keep that in mind, you guys aren't as a group, but they do full ice practices, and they have drills that only have one puck. You'll see a marked difference in their high school performance this year, just based on just that alone. What happens is, if you do, and you can't change this, your level is a little bit different as a group, I'm just trying to explain it to you, because you can kind of fit it together in your own brain. I can tell some of you are so engaged, like your brains function at a high level. So you'll start to understand when you start to do drills. But if you just say, I'm gonna do a skating drill, I'm gonna do 2 shooting drills, I'm gonna do a 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 drill every day, and I'm gonna do another 3-on-2 drill, so that goes there, and I'm gonna play a smaller game. So we have 50 minutes, what's our typical practice time? Hour? Hour. I got an hour, I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drills in an hour. Let's say 10 minutes or 12, somewhere in there, plus teaching, right? That's about all you can do. When you get to a point as a group of teachers where you've covered a lot of things for our Bantam coaches and our high school group, and you high school players in here, where all you've done is one puck drills up and down the rink with all these different systems in one drill, you will play at a really, really high level. You will see a noticeable difference in how your kids play. My example to you, I'm now a general manager, I have a coach. We went 5-1 in exhibition, which was fine, whatever, 4-1, whatever it was, I didn't give 2 hoots. We showed up in Pitt, we lost 2 straight. We laid 2 eggs. One was a major egg, the second one wasn't so bad. Against a really good team, we outshot them by bad, which makes no difference in the game, but they thought we did, 44-16, but we still lost. That's okay. I'm good with the loss, both losses. What I was disappointed was, we couldn't link one system area or one of these things to the next. Not one. So what happened is we had a group of athletes, which is you high school kids in here. They just showed up and my coach just said, we're gonna do some skating and shooting drills. Then we're gonna do a couple of 1-on-1 drills. Then we're gonna do a 2-on-1 drill. Then we're gonna do a 3-on-2 drill. Then we might play a smaller game and I might condition you, we're out of here. Can I swear? We didn't know to shit or whine or watch. Sorry for speaking of that. But we didn't know what to do. We couldn't link a system. We couldn't get out of our end. When it came back into our end, we didn't know what we were doing there. Then we couldn't figure out offense away from the puck, how to support, how to get back out of our end. And then if we got it over the red line, we just dumped it in and line changed. Then they came right back at us again. Then we we're back in defensive zone coverage. Then that group finally got it out of the end in D zone coverage. They were so tired from doing that, they basically got over the red line. One guy thought he was a hero, so he went all the way down the ice and extended his shift. He got tired. The other 4 cats tried to jump off the ice. Meanwhile, the one guy is still down there doing what he thinks is good, but he's just killing himself for the next 2 shifts. And then I'm up there, and hell, at this point, I don't know what shit or whine I watch. And I'm just teaching you how the game works. Now I'm the general manager, and I'm watching, I'm like, oh, we got a long way to go. And so when you get as a group of teachers, when you get to a point where you're like a little bit like, ooh, I'm kind of stuck in the mud here a little bit, and I'm trying to forge forward with the group, things have to link together for them to play. It's the fastest game in the world. I did this to you last week. So I'm on offense, I'm in breakout, then I'm in LRF, then I'm in, we turned it over, now I'm in LRA, now I'm in DZC, now I'm in breakout, now I'm in bonds, now I'm in LRF, now I'm in IZO, now I line change, now I'm getting water, now I don't know what's going on. Then I'm back out there, then I'm going again, then I'm going again. And now Nicole's yelling at me, for Christ's sake, I'm 8 years old, and she's like disappointed, and now I don't know this. And no, but the kids are gonna be smart enough to say, I don't know the shit or why my watch. Like, that's the way the game works, and a fun way to tell you, like, that's what happens out there. So, when I say to you, like, it's good to have one puck drills, if you're, the coaches back here in the Bantam in that higher level, or as your brain starts to function with our squirt peewee coaches, like, okay, like, I've got half ice, I think I'm gonna work on just a part of the breakout, then I'm gonna put 5 people in the breakout, the next practice. We're gonna dump it in, we're gonna go past D to D, to the wing, to the center, to the other wing, and they're gonna give it back to me as a coach. So now I've had all 5 players touch it. Then the next week I go back and work on a breakout where we put pressure, we have a checker dump against. We have to make a little bump play to D, and then we pass it to the wing, and we come out and we just work on parts. Then I've got that done. By my age, we don't really ever regroup the puck. It really never happens. So, but now I'm just gonna work on the attack. So now instead of doing the drill, like breakout like here in parts and then a hole of 5, touching the puck back to me and I keep dumping it in. Now I can't really do bonds on half ice because I don't think we really do it at, let's say you're coaching squirts or peewee, so I'm not gonna worry about that. But we do LRF. We do actually attack with it. Our kids carry it from blue line to blue line or one goal line to the other goal line. That's a fact. So I'm gonna teach them what the LRF is. So I'm gonna put them all up here in the line. I'm gonna put 2 players over here. We're gonna enter the play here and I'm gonna start to interchange. I want the player with the puck to make a pass this first week, come in, this player's gonna drive the net, and we're gonna shoot down. I'm telling them this is an LRF drill, there's squirts. So you're working on your attack, okay? Then I'm gonna have, the next week, I'm gonna say, this player with the puck on the outside, skate to the outside, the player on the outside doesn't have the puck go to the inside, so confuse them with the crisscross. The kids don't know what's doing, I'm just making them do it. Now all of a sudden they're starting to do it in the game, the other team's like, again, don't know to flank or watch, change or watch. So wind the watch. So then now they're doing this. So then we look at our LRF. And now I'm at a point where I've got some stuff done. Now I'm gonna dump the puck in. I'm gonna have one of our players beat the other team in because he's super fast. And we're gonna start IZO, but I need them to learn puck support. We need to learn to understand puck support. So I'm gonna take the second player that was on the LRF and they're gonna go support the puck and we're gonna 2-on-1 their D. And then we're gonna start an in-zone offensive play and then we'll go from there. So you don't have to always really think of the perfect drill. Sometimes you just need to put them in game-like situations with one puck. And just parts of it and string it all together. Because if you want them to play up the ice fast and play back down the ice fast and understand how to play, you need to think and consider as you mature as teachers, can I do this with just one puck? That is the key to coaching. One puck. Teams that play with multiple pucks where kids can make errors and just go grab whatever puck they want, they never play at a high level. Because they're taught that mistake, I'll just go grab a different puck. It's not the way the game works, people. There's 2 colors, 2 teams. So again, some of you might be processing like, Troy, you're getting a little intense for us. Don't, it's education. I'm not getting intense on you. I'm telling you, the more you can migrate to one puck, eventually as you grow here, the better your organization will play, and the better these high school kids, when they get there, they'll be. Because they understand that stick battle we walk through, they understand one puck, how to get it, how to keep it, and it just kind of builds. So it's just a slow build, but I just want you to keep that in mind as you go through the process. I don't think you gotta get consumed by this, but the more your brain kind of functions in those 4 areas, offensively and defensively, and then when I look at my drills I'm choosing, can I just, if we're half ice, can Nicole, instead of looking at the ice from red line to goal line, could she look at from goal line to red line, and then can Nicole look at it from sideboard to sideboard? Like, oh, we're gonna do an LRF drill, but we're gonna shrink the space, and I wanna go from board to board and put one net on this side. So we're gonna change it, and then I'm gonna draw a line across there as the blue line, so we cross the blue line, but we're gonna work sideways. When you guys get to a point where everybody here, whether it's Terry and Bob or whoever says, hey, you're gonna split the ice, and you're sharing ice and you've got this way, sometimes split the ice down the middle at diagonal so you can actually work a full ice breakout drill, a full ice LRF drill, a full ice breakout LRF into IZO drill. Does that make sense? Especially if some of you are in peewee or bantam and you like gotta share the ice, then just diagonally put cones through here and then just work from one end to the other and just work back and just stay that way and then flip flop it. So you're working with 2 teams. Does that make sense? Okay? Then as you get now into your split practices, this year I think we have to consider when we have split practices, so if we have 2 squirt teams, let's just say it's an A and B team, they need to work together. Did we do that last year? much, I'm assuming. Brian says no. Okay? So that means like, if I'm a squirt coach A and I'm a squirt coach B, that we are kind of in sync together. And some of you might find that, well, he's different, whatever. But if you kind of like come up with some drills, let's say you spend like the first 30 minutes and you do all your own work. But then you come together and do a couple of group drills that would benefit both groups. It's really powerful. It's really powerful. Plus you add more than you think you do. Don't worry about whether a kid's on the A or B team or whatever. Just let them do things together. They're all friends anyway. Like, let them interact. It's a really powerful thing. And then it doesn't become so much like, I'm on this team and you're on that team. Like, we do intersection stuff. So there's options. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. That's the group around here that has to tell you that. I'm just telling you, I want you to think outside of your normal comfort zone as you look to develop players, because I think you're gonna have to merge at times to get a lot done. I think, when we've talked about that as a group back there, and they understand that. Questions on any of that? Not so much the merging, but just in general. Okay, so that's kind of it for me in terms of, we got through this, we've talked about how to add, how to delete, what we need to make it. I think it's pretty clear we're gonna try and do not a ton of drills for the age you're at, but you're gonna try and do them a lot of different ways. So now what is my part moving forward? My part is really like I told you, I'm 24/7. Like, I just go. I don't have an off button, so I just go. You just need to email me or you need to call me and you just need to ask. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna tell you what to do. I'll say, whoever, Bob, here's your options I think you could do with your group. This is what I would try and consider. I haven't been over there to see your group. I don't know the total age or the skill level, but I would probably tell you this would probably work if you tried to add this in. So I'm there as a resource for you, whether you email me or call me, and then, I'm always gonna be there. I think maybe we'll probably try and get together at another time, optional if some of you guys can make it, where we're in a month into the season and you're like, okay, I just need to come in here and do a brain dump. I couldn't ask a question in the fall because I was doing a lot of learning. Now I've done a lot of drills, I've done a lot of prep work, but I'm still like, ooh, I could really use some help. You can either take that individually and just call me, or we'll try and get together as a group and I'll try and help you again. But I will say this, I will thank you immensely on behalf of the children you're about to coach and their parents, because I think you've made a significant effort to try and at least gain some knowledge, and hopefully with the knowledge it comes with a little bit more confidence as to how you want to do things. But understand this, you, like the kids, you're a work in progress, just like me as a coach. I'm a work in progress every day, and we all have to learn and grow, and it's just part of the process. So you can't really go wrong, I think, from this point on. You just put your best foot forward and try to do the best you can. Those books are there if you want to look at them before you go. If you need to see that video that I got over there, if you need to ask me questions, but otherwise I'll say thank you and I'll turn it over to these guys.
High school guys, you guys can head out if you'd like.
First of all, thank you. So coaches, you guys can slide right here a little bit. So, just kind of, maybe should have done this at the beginning, just to break this down, kind of how it is. Hopefully you know this in. It's our first year. We may have some new revenue, and we're all here to hopefully work on that together and get great resources. I'm not the hockey person. I've learned what I've learned from Bob, Terry, Sue, some other people. So I am the data guy and the implementer, right? So the real development guys are the guys that are going to be. I'm supporting from a hockey sense, but a non-hockey sense. And so this is Coach Terry Watkins, Coach Bob Weir, and Coach Paul Wirtz. So all of them have been here since I've been here. So a lot of hockey knowledge right here. And these guys have been learning from Troy as well. And they're going to be, for my work term, the SME, the subject matter expert. So these guys, yeah.
Expert in me?
So Terry's gonna start writing some C#.net code next week. So, but these guys are the guys, so if you see them, you can ask them. Like Troy said, you can call him. If there's something that you need, and you see me, ask me, I will get you to the right person. I will get you all, are you guys all okay with me sharing numbers and emails? So I will get the entire coach group, their contact information. And, you know, if you're struggling to, like Troy said, if you're struggling to figure something out, you know, and you just, I don't know sometimes how to relay it, right? Because I don't know, I never played the game, right? But these guys then can jump in and say, well, you know, maybe have you done this, or this is, you know, how I would explain it, you know. When I coach Squirt C's, this guy amazed me, because I'm like, oh, college coach, here we go. Can't talk to an 8-year-old. This guy comes down right here, and like, it was impressive. So the guy can help. So, and with Troy's help and the rest of these guys.
I guess, real quick, when I retired from South, got to be, you know, involved with hockey, I just saw a whole bunch of really good people, and we didn't have a lot of direction, okay? We didn't have a kind of a common theme, if you will. And I've known Troy forever, and as you guys can clearly see, he's pretty goddamn smart when it comes to hockey. And what our goal is this year is, after you guys, I think you have your tryouts coming up here in a week or two or whatever, something like that. After you've run through your tryouts and you got your team and you get kind of figured out what you're gonna do, the three of us will be available. I may be talking, maybe be with the band group, Bobby be with the Pee Wee group, and Paulie with the Squirts, and then all of us can help with the mics, whatever. And if you need some help with something, you wanna talk about drills, or you want us to come to a practice or do whatever, we'll be available to help. We're not gonna tell you what to do or anything like that, but what we've seen in the past is everybody's kind of going in different directions, and I think what Troy has laid out, you know, I really like his 4 areas of offense and his 4 areas of defense. I think if we, you know, implement drills in each of those areas as the kids grow, you know, they go from Squirts to DBs to band, they're gonna understand stuff, and I think we can do a lot better job. I think we've been kind of spinning our wheels just because we haven't had some direction, and I think Troy, it's amazing. A few years ago, I went over to see him, was coaching at Stout, and we got a little bit stale. Trevor Frischman and I, Trevor, were 8 years in the NHL, and we both went over and spent a day with Troy, had a few beers, and got back in the car and sat down, and Trevor looked at me and he says, have you ever felt so goddamn stupid in your life? You know, I mean, it was just some new stuff, some fresh ideas, and it was interesting coming out of a guy that, you know, All-American at Division I level and all of that, and as long as I coached, and it was just fun to sit down and listen and talk, and I think that's what we need to do here is if we can help each other, you know, talk and kind of help these kids, because I think we've got a pretty damn good thing going. I look at the intensity of people and good people involved, so if we can, you know, help out, great, and you know, Troy, like I said, he's available, but there's only so many hours in a day for him, so thank you, this was awesome, really awesome.
So as far as the IHS, some of you have seen it, some of you haven't. So it's ice hockey, I think it's ice hockey, I call it international hockey system, but it's ice hockey systems, yeah. So I will be putting out some messages to all you guys and doing training. I'm working on finalizing the documentation, because, so if we, you know, being a data person, if we, you know, I have my whole Squirt C season, and Bob actually brought this to me the first year I coached, and I named everything Squirt C, the date for the practice plan, you know, and like Troy talked, if we do this for 5 years, like, then it's like, okay, here we go, send it out to your coaches, you know, so it's gonna get, there's some legwork we'll all have to do, you know, but we have to, like Troy said, we have to dedicate ourselves to it and make the commitment to it, and you know, even 1 year after, we will see the fruits, you know, 5 years after, the fruits could be amazing, so, yeah, so I look forward to sharing that with you guys, and, you know, I'm kind of up all night and at home all day, so, questions, anytime, no question is a dumb question, right? Right? So, yeah, no, I'll take dumb ones, smart ones, you know, I got some dumb ones I can throw out there. But,
Thank you all.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Look forward to it. Yep. So, thanks for all your commitment and coming, and,
Thanks for organizing.
no, so that's the
Good question.
It's a license thing, but.
Blue and red.
Uh,
What was it like?
I don't know. Yeah, it's fine.